Samantha, she was always just an amazing girl. She was happy. She loved everybody. She treated everybody the same. Anytime she walked in the room, it was like the whole entire room lit up. Everybody, she just walked in smiling. Everybody just adored her. Everybody adored her. Not just our family, but it really crushed us. It's really put a hole in our lives that is obviously never going to be filled. It took a toll on all of us. She was very important to all of us. When Sam was 16, she was driving to school from Fairgrove on a curvy road early in the morning. She said she remembered looking down at the time and then looking back up, and there was a school bus. So she swerved to make sure she was in her lane, and she overcorrected and flipped the car like 3 or 4 times and was out in a field. It was like 8 in the morning. I got a call from the police saying that my daughter had been involved in a car accident. And of course I was frantic. I didn't know. They couldn't tell me anything except she was talking and coherent. So I got to the hospital, and they had her, all braced up and everything. She didn't really remember a lot. But she had 3 spots in her back that were broken. So we went, the emergency room, they gave her pain pills. She was a person that didn't like to take pills. Like, even if she was sick, I don't want to take liquid, I don't want to take pills, I don't want to take any of that stuff. So I thought, well, she's not going to take it. I'm sure that the pain was so bad that, she was to the point where, okay, I've got to take something. I can't deal with this. She would just cry from the pain. And so she started taking them. I didn't know anything about pain pills really, or addiction, nor was I warned. Hey, she might get addicted to these, or hey, watch this, or nothing. I had no clue. I'm just thinking, well, my baby has broken her back in 3 spots. Give her whatever she needs. She took those probably for like 6 months or so. And then when she was out, I kind of noticed like a pill here or there, like on the floor or in her room. And I was like, well, what is this? And she's like, well, it's just Xanax, the pain is too strong. I can't deal with it. It constantly hurts. And, we were close, so we always discussed everything. Why are you taking these? Where are you getting these? And tried to encourage her to go a different route. We had her in counseling. They put her on antidepressants. Of course, she didn't want to take those pills, so she never really did. She did counseling for a while, and then she just kind of refused to go anymore. She said it wasn't helping her. When Sam initially told me that, Mom, I'm addicted to heroin, I'm sure my mouth dropped open, and I just kind of sat there and stared at her for a minute. But instead of freaking out and yelling and screaming, I was just like, okay, I don't need to know how it happened. We can talk. I knew she was scared to death. And so I had to take a few breaths and go, all right, let's do this. Let's fight it. So we got her on Suboxone. It seemed to help, but I don't know. She went through treatment there. She never had a clean urine test. She was doing coke. She was using the subs, and they weren't helping. She was still here in the same environment, around the same people when she left treatment, and it was right in front of her all the time. So she just couldn't do it. So we went to bed Saturday night, probably 12-ish. And my room is across from her room, and I was laying on the outside of the bed, just kind of staring out the door, thinking, I don't know, I just had a feeling. And so I tried to go to sleep. I went to sleep. I woke up maybe an hour later and seen her walking down the hall. She was just bouncing and so happy, and her hair was flying, and she had her NA book, and she's like, I'm gonna go in my room and meditate. And I'm like, okay. So this was September 3rd, 2017. About 4:30 in the morning, I woke up and I sat straight up and was like, okay, something's wrong. And I just immediately got up, went to Sam's room. Her door was locked. I just pushed it open because I'd had to get in there before. And I knew when I saw her that she was gone. But she was sitting there with her legs crossed and her head down on her bed and her arms laying beside her. And it was like instant sickness. Like I just knew. And so I went over to her and I sat her up. And you could tell that she had thrown up a little bit and that her face was puffy from laying in it. And I knew, but I tried to feel for her pulse, and her neck was so stiff and her mouth was so clenched that everything was just hard. You couldn't even find anything. So I yelled for my husband, and he came running in, and I told him to call 911. He was in there and said, put her on the floor. And I'm like, I can't. Like, I'm just in shock. I couldn't move. I was just like... So he picked her up and put her on the floor and started chest compressions. Like I said, her mouth was too clenched, so you couldn't even get it open to try to give her CPR. They got her on a gurney in her room and brought her into the living room. And she was in a body bag. And so they left the top open so I could hug her and kiss her and talk to her. And I spent some time with her, and then they zipped her up and took her out, just like it was nothing. I watched her go out. I watched them put her in the car. I watched her drive away, and I just lost it in the driveway. I would just ask everybody to take another look at your life and what you're doing, and take a step back and realize that this does happen to anybody and everybody, and just prepare yourself for when these things are put in front of you.